this is ICBs here, and today we are talking about Assassin's Creed codenamed Hexe. And you know what? I was actually not going to make a video about it because before I wanted to make this video because I thought and no one had made the video on this topic, but I saw that so many other people have already made a video for this thing, so I just got demotivated to make this video because they are doing a much better job of explaining whatever is going to be happening in this game. But you know what? I should probably make this video anyway because I love Assassin's Creed and I love talking about it. So here it is, a very insecure video about Assassin's Creed Hexe and what's going to be happening in it. So yeah, let's do the first obligatory thing and watch the trailer, which is less of a trailer and even less of a teaser, but it's something. So let's watch and see what it's about. Alright, so this is basically most of the trailer. I remember watching it years ago, and whenever I watched it, I also watched some other people that were talking about, and they were like official people from Ubisoft, and they were like, oh, we are uploading the trailer for Assassin's Creed Hexe, and they were like, there are so many hidden details in that trailer. I'm really curious what the fans are going to be, uncovering, but like, it's such a small trailer, like, what's there to uncover? And the thing is, at the time no one really made a video about it, so it just kind of slipped from my mind, and I thought like no one really cared. But yeah, I mean, people have debunked that these symbols are something of some occult or witchcraft or anything like that. In fact, I tried to take a screenshot of this thing and put it into Grok or ChatGPT and tried to learn something from them. Maybe they could debunk this thing, but they weren't really able to do that. Those AI models simply told me that this feels like a language that's made originally for the game, so it's not really similar to something that already exists. There are similarities, but it's not 100% there, so it's probably something that Ubisoft made originally for their games, or maybe the AI models just got it wrong, so we don't know. As for what we can expect in Assassin's Creed Hexe is probably best explained in these bullet points. So yeah, like, thank you Mr. AJXTT for telling us what's going to be in that game. And yeah, I mean, I do think that these bullet points are accurate even though we are seeing the Reddit logo. So no, like, this is valid information because I also saw this from other sources of information as well. So let's go through those things one by one. Still early in development, slated for 2026 for the Infinity platform. So yeah, like, this game is going to be coming out in 26. It's funny to see Ubisoft is going back to releasing a game once per year after taking, I think, an unusually long break since Valhalla. Like, Valhalla came out and it was like at least a monetary success for Ubisoft, but they didn't release a game for the longest time, which is very interesting when you think about it, because every single year Ubisoft used to release an Assassin's Creed game, and then after Valhalla, like, it's just, I don't know, something happened with Ubisoft, I suppose. So this says that it's going to be a linear experience with some elements of the open world exploration akin to some of the earlier Assassin's Creed game. I don't know what this means because even the earlier Assassin's Creed game, I haven't played the first game, but I have played the rest of the games. But even the older games had these open world scenario where you could explore whatever you wanted to explore. So I wouldn't say that the older games were, like, half-baked open world. They were definitely open world, but you could say that the older games were more focused. They just had to tell a story. They told a story in like 10 or 12 or 15 hours, and that was it. So if this is what it means by a linear experience and semi-open world, then yeah, I guess I believe it, because the older games were much better at storytelling than the newer ones. Now, what I really like about this thing is that there's only going to be a single female protagonist named Elsa with supernatural abilities. That's really interesting because Finally, we have a single protagonist for a single game. I've hated this thing ever since Odyssey came out, that you have dual protagonist for major Assassin's Creed games, and I hate it with a passion. It kind of worked in Odyssey because whichever character you picked, the other character still had a role to play in the story. But it was really terrible with Valhalla because you could just go with any character and just didn't even matter what you're doing. So yeah, I do like that you are more focused, that you have a single solid character you can follow. Now there were some footage released. I have not seen any of this footage, but even if I do see that footage, I probably don't think I should show that in this video. That would probably get me copyright striked. But you know, like, that footage shows abilities like possession. A cat is possessed to distract 16th century German soldiers coming after Elsa. So that's definitely interesting. You have some supernatural abilities, and I saw some commenter over here saying that these powers could be inspired by the Piece of Eden, which definitely, fits in with the whole Assassin's Creed universe. Let's quickly go through the rest of them. It says the feared system from Jack the Ripper. DLC from AC Syndicate is also coming back. Gameplay depicted a dark, gloomy setting in the cobbled street of the city. This I absolutely love. I love these horror-inspired video games. I cannot wait for this game. There were some settings in Assassin's Creed Valhalla that were really horror-inspired, and I love to explore them. There was also like one setting from the DLC of Assassin's Creed Odyssey where you had to go after Medusa, and man, like, if you've played that thing, that is so creepy, because if you go to that area, your horse just stops, like it just doesn't want to go any further. Like, that shit is crazy. I love that, and I love that Ubisoft is experimenting with different formulas. And after going through all of this thing, I want to tell about what I think Ubisoft should do. And I think Ubisoft at this point should really move away from the RPG open world formula, because I think that formula was exhausted with Odyssey. I really loved Origins. It was really refreshing whenever Ubisoft decided to take Assassin's Creed formula and combine it with something else, which was obviously Witcher 3, and it worked really well in Origins. It was an amazing game, like one of my favorite Assassin's Creed games. And then you have Odyssey. It's kind of already starting to get old, and these games are really long, so it gets really annoying because you're doing the same thing over and over again. And then comes Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and you're still doing the same thing, same open world, and you're just still, doing the same actual thing, and the story isn't interesting to keep you invested in the game. So with Valhalla, you just kind of drop off and you're like, this is it, I'm done. But I do think that Ubisoft can revive Assassin's Creed by mixing their Assassin's Creed formula with something else, and this time I think for this game they should combine it with the Last of Us series, kind of a formula where you have a very narrow storyline and very narrow open world, and it's very focused. And I do believe if Ubisoft is able to do that, it would be really cool. And if you're wondering, like, is this the best approach, because like, Ubisoft has obviously, as discussed before, done this thing before, and it's done wonders for the franchise, and it's definitely put some more life into the Assassin's Creed franchise. For instance, Ubisoft experimented with Assassin's Creed 4, where you had Assassin's Creed formula, but they combined that with the pirate formula. It might have worked for some people, might not have worked for others, but the overwhelming consensus is that that game is really good. I've played that game maybe a bit too much, but I really definitely love that game. And then Ubisoft did it again with Assassin's Creed Odyssey, where you have Assassin's Creed formula but combined with an open world RPG formula of Witcher 3. It worked really well. And now I think that it is time for another change, and I believe that Ubisoft should do it again, but with the Last of Us formula. And when I say the Last of Us, I don't mean like the Last of Us, I mean like the Naughty Dog formula of focusing on the story and focusing on a cinematic and story mode of the game rather than gameplay. Because like, if you would hear most people talk about Naughty Dog's games, they would say that it's a fun movie game, but it's not a fun game to play, because if you focus on the gameplay, it's actually not that complex of Naughty Dog's games. But when you focus on the story, it's the story that really grips you. So I believe that this is exactly what Assassin's Creed need right now. They need a really good story, to hook people in, and they need a very narrow focused story and a very intentional open world. And I really want to emphasize the word intentional open world, where everything that you are exploring is meant to be explored and it's very handcrafted. So those are my thoughts right now. Let me know what you think about Assassin's Creed Hexe, your speculations and your theories. And as always, it's time for a goodbye.